Welcome back everyone to Formula 1 2020 and to your preview of round 14, the Turkish Grand Prix, our first visit to Istanbul since 2011. Round 14 of 17 races this year means we've only got 4 more to go. Turkey this weekend, a 1-week gap and a triple header, 2 races in Bahrain and 1 in Abu Dhabi to round off the season. In that last race in 2011, it was Sebastian Vettel on top form for Red Bull. A Red Bull 1-2 in qualifying, Rosberg P3, but in the Grand Prix, despite going backwards, it was Webber and Alonso going head to head. Michael Schumacher not having the best of luck on that particular day. The 2 McLarens of Hamilton and Button jousting it out, but Vettel coming out on top. Last time out in 2020, Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas claimed Mercedes' 7th Constructors' title in a row. A 1-2 in qualifying, Bottas taking pole position, the flip way round in the Grand Prix, Hamilton taking victory, with Daniel Ricciardo taking his 2nd podium of the season. And after that race at Imola, this is how your Drivers' and Constructors' Championships look. With Hamilton taking a comfortable lead over Valtteri Bottas, the British driver can claim 7 world titles this weekend at Turkey. Max Verstappen comfortably sits in 3rd place, but it's not out of the realms of possibility just yet to claim 2nd in the title. Best of the rest though, P4, all eyes in the remaining 4 races of the season. Ricciardo 10 points in front of Charles Leclerc, who's 3 points in front of Sergio Perez. It's a bit of a gap back to Norris, Sainz, Albon in 9th, and Pierre Gasly just 1 point behind the Red Bull driver in P10. A difficult string of races for Lance Stroll puts him in P11 in front of his good friend Esteban Ocon. Kvyat a 4th place, his best of the season last time out at Imola, moves him into 13th. Vettel 14th in front of fellow German Nico Hülkenberg. Raikkonen and Giovinazzi on 4 apiece. Grosjean on 2, Magnussen on 1, Latifi and George Russell yet to score. Your Constructors' Championship looks like this, with the title all done and dusted, Red Bull guaranteed 2nd. All eyes are on best of the rest. Renault, McLaren and Racing Point all split by 1 single point. Ferrari aren't out of the hunt just yet, but Sebastian Vettel's going to really have to turn around his form, and Charles Leclerc, he's going to have to just continue what he's been doing all season long. AlphaTauri continued to hunt down Ferrari. Alfa Romeo are 5 points in front of Haas. Williams the only team yet to score. No Formula 2 this weekend, that returns at the next 2 races in Bahrain for the season finale. However, a quick look at your Drivers' Championship sees Mick Schumacher currently leading over fellow Ferrari junior Callum Ilott. Yuki Tsunoda, who tested for AlphaTauri last week, is in P3. Renault junior Christian Lundgaard is P4. Ferrari junior Robert Schwartzman rounds out the top 5. Haas inbound driver Nikita Mazepin joins him on 140 points. Your rookie standings is Tsunoda leading on 147, Lundgaard P2. Tyre choice this weekend is the most conservative on the Formula 1 calendar, C1 hard, C2 medium and C3 soft. As always in Formula 1 2020, 1 mandatory pit stop required during the Grand Prix. Each driver needs to have at least 2 tyre compounds used during the race. And your weather, before we get into our slightly revised preview layout, looks like this. Mostly dry conditions throughout the weekend. Saturday, there is a 55% chance of rain. However, it looks to be like it's going to be in the morning before we get underway with qualifying. But fingers crossed, a little bit of rain could spice things up quite nicely. Only an 8% chance of rain on Sunday, a 25% for practice on Friday. There is no hot lap this weekend for Turkey, for Istanbul. It's not on any of the software I have available to me this season, so sadly we're going to have to skip out this weekend. I'll try and get something sorted for that 2nd race in Bahrain, but with that being said, we will move swiftly over to the newsroom. It's been a couple of weeks since our last race for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. There's been quite a few stories, especially in the last couple of days. The big one though, our leading topic, is our Formula 1 provisional 2020 calendar has been released. it's not quite as stunning and as exciting as our 2020 calendar with new venues here, there and everywhere. It seems, of course, Turkey being our last final new venue of 2020. We do have a slight revision for our second race in Bahrain. Next season, things are a little bit calmer. The big difference is, though, than what we expected was no Vietnam Grand Prix. That is not on the calendar at the moment. And we do have the addition of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix as our penultimate round of the season, our 22nd race of 23, our longest calendar ever. We did a whole video talking about it a couple of days ago, but I would love to know your thoughts on the calendar in the comment section down below. This morning, huge news, the W Series has announced a multi-year partnership as a support series of Formula 1. This means that on 8 of the races during the 2021 season, W Series and Formula 1 will race at the same venue, the same date, just like we see now with Formula 2, Formula 3, who have also set to continue their relationship as a support series of Formula 1. Calendars for all three series, F2, F3 and W Series, have all been mixed up nicely around the season, so you'll get a little taster here, there and everywhere throughout the year, something a little bit different each weekend. But W Series is the huge step forward for that championship, and as always, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And our final little sprinkle of news is Jüri Vips, an Estonian racing driver who's part of the Red Bull Junior program, will join the Red Bull team this weekend as their reserve driver. Sebastian Buemi, their current reserve driver, is over in Valencia preparing for the Formula E pre-season test. Jüri Vips, who has done a couple of races this year for Dams in place of Sean Gelael, who picked up an injury earlier on this season in Spain. Jüri Vips is a driver I rate super highly, and to see him given this opportunity I think is pretty awesome. And that just about concludes all our stories in this week's newsroom. Not a lot considering we've had a 2-week break, but I think a lot of the teams, a lot of the drivers are finalising those contracts, and they'll be announced over the coming weeks, or maybe just as the season comes to a close. So before we go, as always, my favourite part of the race weekend, my favourite part of the preview, it's prediction times for the Turkish Grand Prix. I'm going a little bit bold this weekend, like I usually do, for those of you that watch the preview week in and week out. For qualifying, I've gone with a Mercedes 1-2, nice and simple. Hamilton to take pole position on his return to Turkey, Bottas P2, and I've actually put Sergio Perez in P3. I think that racing point could be quite a little nifty car through the streets of Istanbul. In the Grand Prix though, I've mixed things about. I've put a Bottas victory for the third time in 2020, Hamilton P2, Sergio Perez to finally get that first podium in 2020, Verstappen P4 and Esteban Ocon P5. As always, I would love to know your predictions in the comment section down below, and if you follow this grid you will be entered into a chance to be featured in tomorrow's video. The top 2 liked comments following this grid will be featured. So in qualifying, I want to know pole position, who's going to be joining them on the front row, and who's going to be the biggest shock. And in the Grand Prix, your race winner, which 2 other drivers are going to be on the podium, first retirement, driver of the day, and best of the rest. And finally, just before we go, Fantasy League time. It's been going pretty well for me recently. We are now into the top 50, 47th out of 3,400 of you. I'm very proud of myself this season. The team, it stayed pretty much unchanged for the last few Grand Prix. Mercedes, Hamilton, Ricciardo, the 2 Racing Point boys of Perez and Stroll, and Romain Grosjean leading the Grosjean army. It's all looking pretty rosy for a good end of the season. As always, you can join, the code is on screen, but with 4 races to go, you're probably not having the best chance of being near the top. Screenshot time at the ready, and just before I leave you, your weekend schedule for the Turkish Grand Prix looks like this. Practice 1, practice 2 in the morning on Friday, 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock, so set those alarms boys and girls. Saturday, a similar kind of story with practice at 9 o'clock, qualifying at 12, and our earliest race of the season, 10 o'clock, the Turkish Grand Prix. And that is it for your preview here in Istanbul. I will be back tomorrow with your practice report running through FP1 and FP2. It might be a little bit later than normal. There's a little bit of work going on here at the moment, so we might have to play about with times a little bit. But if you want to keep up to date with practice but don't want to watch the whole thing, do not worry, I will have you covered. Enjoy the weekend, guys. This is a brilliant circuit. I'm sure it's going to be a banger of a Grand Prix. Thank you all very much for watching. Subscribe if you are new, and I hope to see you all in the next one.